Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. I apologize and apologize for my being late. And I want to make sure that this is live in the group. Just making sure. Yes. Okay. So I am live in the group. That is good to know. And I wanted to apologize for the delay. If you would like me to be able to see your comments, you want to make sure that you click through the StreamYard so I'll be able to do that. Let me share my screen with you. Let's see, present, share screen. And I want to share this one. Here we go. Hopefully you'll be able, I need to start over though, because I don't need to be on that screen. Okay, so I'm going to click share. All right, now you can see my screen. I wanted that to be a little bit bigger. Okay, great. All righty, well, let me get started since we are already delayed. I apologize again for the delay and just want to hop on into the training. We are doing the training on how to batch content, I'm excited about this training. And appreciate you being here. If you're not here live, thanks for watching the replay. Okay, just in case we have some new faces, I wanted to do a brief introduction of myself. I am Alicia Avant. I'm the owner of this group, and I am a Christian virtual assistant and consultant to authors, speakers, and coaches. This very week in business, or in this month, I am celebrating 16 years in business. And almost the entirety of those 16 years, I've worked with authors, speakers, and coaches. So that is my background and my experience. And I just wanted to give a brief introduction of myself. So let's hop on into the training and let's go to the next slide. So first of all, we're going to talk about what is batching. Batching is the act of grouping together tasks together. So you do them all at once instead of switching between tasks that take place in different programs or areas. So a few weeks ago on my podcast, the Christian Business Advantage podcast, I did an episode on batching, and you may have listened to that. And that's really when I was brainstorming for this month's podcast content, that's where I came up with the idea of this training, because even though I can talk about it, it's easier for me to show you a little bit more here on the computer. And so that's why I created this training, because I can kind of show you the different things that I do when I batch content for both myself and my clients. And one of the reasons in that particular episode that I shared that batching is a good idea is because it takes more brain power to switch between types of tasks. So that's why multitasking is not a good idea. It is more important to stay on the right or the same frame of mind, same train of thought in order to get more done and be more productive. And that's why batching is a great idea. So let's go to the next slide. Here are some steps for batching content. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into that as well in just a moment. But here are some main ideas. The first idea is start with your largest pieces of content. So I am giving you these steps, and I'm going to be sharing with you examples of how I do this. So whether you start with a podcast episode, a longer form video such as this, or a blog post, which is a written piece of content, you start with the largest piece of content. And so most podcast episodes or videos are, my shortest podcasts are about 7 minutes. My longest are about 20 minutes, but it gives you a good chunk of content. A long form video, these are usually about 20 or 30 minute videos. And then a blog post is usually 500 to 1200 words, so to speak. And so that is a larger piece of content that you can then turn into other pieces of content. So the very first thing that I do in my set of batching is I have long form content in the form of a podcast or a video like this one. And then the second thing that I do is I turn that into another long form piece of content. So a podcast can be transcribed into a blog post. A video can be transcribed into a blog post. A blog post could be read and turned into a podcast. I have a client who her entire podcast is her sharing old blog posts from her blog that she then sort of reads or recites as a part of her podcast. So those are ways that you can interchange those. And then the third thing you would do would be to break down that long form content into smaller pieces of content. So you could batch or turn videos, long form videos into reels, little bits and pieces of your reels. Of your video could become reels. You could pull quotes from blog posts to make quote images and things like that. You could pull quotes to make social media posts. So think of the ways that you could turn those other pieces of content into those long form content into smaller pieces of content. Then let's go into how you do that. Let's break it down into how you do that. So first things first, you are going to brainstorm your long form content ideas. I like to start with a theme or topic for the month, for example. So every month I have a theme of the month that creates an overarching idea for the entire month to create this content from. So I might write down or brainstorm. This is my little brainstorm notebook, if you can see it here. So I was talking with my intern last month at the end of September, trying to determine a good theme for October. And she and I were talking, and she suggested, hey, do kind of a play on the Halloween theme of the month. So tricks and treats for marketing online became my theme for the entire month of October. And then after I did that, what I did was I came up with some different topics for that. So let's go into the next slide, because I believe that goes into that. So set a title for each piece of long form content. So I set a title for each piece of content that I was creating for the month of October. And those became, actually I ended up doing 5 because there are 5 weeks in the month of October, but normally you would do 4. But whatever you're doing, you could do 1 per week. You can do 1 per month, ever how often you need to create this content. And then you would create a title. And that's what's on my sheet here are the titles for each of those. Then step number 3, after I did that, I created a title. I batched that content. So of course, there's kind of a little sub step in between these, and that is to brainstorm, to outline before you sit down and actually write it out. You might outline it. If you write out, some people probably write out their entire podcast. I don't do that. What I do instead of writing out my entire podcast, I actually just create an outline. So I do this on paper. I'm kind of a paper and pen gal when it comes to that kind of thing. But so this was the very first one for the month. It was called Platforms for Marketing Your Business On. And I did just an outline. And then on a Saturday, I sat and recorded these podcasts back to back as I batched them for use throughout the month. You could do the same thing, set down, write off for blog posts, for example, or record videos, whatever the case may be. All right. And then step number 4 is to batch your graphic creation. So most likely, if you have a podcast or you have a blog post or even a video, you're going to need something to go along with that. So you're going to need a podcast image. You're going to need a YouTube cover image. If you're doing videos, you're going to need a blog post image if you're doing a blog post. So you're going to want to sit down and batch create those images. And let's talk about a little bit how to do that. And so you're going to batch your designs. Don't just create one design at a time. Instead, plan out a week's worth or even a month's worth of graphics. And the best way to do this is to have a template. And so the next step is don't start from scratch. Set up a variety of branded templates in each size that you use most often. And then when you need to create your graphics, you're simply changing the text and the photos. So just this morning, I have a new intern. If you're in my group here, then you know that because I've shared that with you. And a part of her task is she helps me create these images. So I'm going to go over here and share with you the home screen of my Canva. And I'm going to show you some of the templates that I have in my business to help us streamline this process. So you can see here, it says blog templates. Every one of my blog posts gets the same size graphic. And this is my graphic for the podcast. And then let me go over here and show you on my website what it looks like. So I have a graphic. Each week we switch out the title and we switch out the background or the picture. And let me show you on the blog where that shows up. It shows up here at the top, or it shows up over here. And as you can see, if you scroll down, this is the image for this podcast. Then you're going to see this is the podcast itself. And if you scroll on down, I also have a Pinterest graphic for each of these so someone can pin it to Pinterest. And so if we go back over here into Canva and we scroll on down, you can see there's some Pinterest designs for blog posts. This is another template. And so what you can see in here, if you open this up, you'll see that there are several different looks or designs, and see how we are using that same design, but we're changing out the graphics. Using a similar design, but changing out the graphics. So it makes it so much easier to batch that content because you're not having to sit there and reinvent the wheel. You're just going to go in here, go to the top here, actually, I think you go here and then, no, here's where you go. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So down here, you go and you click duplicate page. So you click on the little three dots and click duplicate page. And then you can go in here and you can change out the text and the graphics so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're using the same one each time. So I have one for Pinterest. I have one up here for my blog post. I even have one. This is for the Facebook cover that I put here in the group that announces the training of the month. And then I have one for the Facebook event. So somewhere in here, I announce my training of the month, and there is an event that is created and it announces that. So there are so many different, I'm trying to find it, but I don't see it. There are so many different templates that you can create that you can use. So you see new pen designs, 10 new pen designs. See, these are pen designs that we can use over and over again instead of having to reinvent the wheel. I also have graphics for the podcast. You know, I do like a little, what's called an audiogram every month. And that is these here. If you notice, I have these here. And there are, let me let it open up. Okay. So what I do, you know, somebody asked about, is it the same graphic every month or every time? No, I actually have more than one template for podcasts. So if you'll notice, this one looks the same as this one, but if you scroll on down, there is a new template. Okay. And we've used that several times, and I have just rotate, you know, you'll use this one week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, then you go back to the top, you use that one the next week, so on and so forth. So if you keep scrolling, you'll see there's this one. There's this one. Kind of change it up a little bit. There's this one. We just kind of rotate between these different types of graphics so that you don't have to have the same one each week, but that you have kind of a similar theme or brand, if you will, that goes with these graphics and that you can batch them. Okay, so let me go back now to my slides because that's how that works. So that's where I'm not starting from scratch. I am reusing, repurposing, using templates. All right. And then the last thing to do is to organize. Organize your images into folders right there in Canva like I have, or set up a series of folders in your Google Drives, because Google Drive is a great way that you can share those folders with your team members, and then they can utilize those graphics and stuff for you as well. Or you can add a team member to Canva. But that's how I keep it organized. I also organize my content by using this particular notebook for everything. I also have a spreadsheet that I use for social media that let me go ahead and I'll just share my screen and show you that as well, because let me find it over on this other screen that you don't have to see, and then I'll show you. Because your social media can be a task in and of itself. I don't know that I have one handy, in all honesty, but basically what it is here, I'm going to use this one as an example. Okay, I'm just going to pull this one over and use it as an example. It doesn't have anybody's name on it. So basically what this does is it gives you, so this is the month of September. Actually, this is supposed to be October, but it gives you the date you're going to, let me make sure y'all are seeing this, the date that you are going to share that post. It gives you a different content pillar. That's a completely different training we might do sometime on content pillars or the different types of posts that you're posting each week. It gives you the actual blurb you were posting, the link, and then the image that corresponds with it, and then whether or not you've scheduled it. So if you do this and you create a spreadsheet, this spreadsheet interacts with or references your images, and then you can schedule everything out. This is what I do for clients. So when a client comes to me and they want me to manage their social media, they get a spreadsheet, and they also get the templates and things like that. So I'm going to click off of that and go back here to slides. We've got one more slide in this, and I think it's like legitimately stuck. Okay. So another question that was asked is the types of content that you can batch. I think that this was pretty self-explanatory in the presentation that I've done here, but if not, the types of content that you can batch are podcast episodes, blog posts, YouTube videos or trainings, social media posts, and graphic creation. And then what this goes hand in hand with is content repurposing. Because basically what you're doing is you are taking the content that you created in the long form and you're breaking it down into smaller pieces of content. And that is one of the biggest things that I do for my clients is I help them to repurpose their content and use it in other various locations, such as their social media and etc. And that truly helps you to get more for your money or more for your time and energy. You know, you are multiplying your efforts as you repurpose your content. So this is how I batch my content. and the content of my clients to basically save time and be more productive. So I don't see anyone on here live, so I don't guess I can have anybody ask questions. But if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments of this video and I will try and answer them. So I thank you. I appreciate you watching this video and this training. And if I can help you in your business with batching or with content repurposing or social media maintenance or scheduling, just let me know. I would be happy to talk to you about that service. Thanks so much for watching.